Hello, class. I'm Professor Hatter. Well, today I'm just Jeffrey. On July 2nd, in our family, my grandpa, Benjamin James Nejdl, passed away. Of course, every grandparent means so much to everyone in their lives, and I think it's a blessing or more of a nicer thing to think that my sister and I were able to visit him the Monday before he passed away. He was 94 and, 95 in some standards, and I'll get into that in a moment. I wanted to make a tribute video to him where I'm going to go through a few hats I have here and just kind of go a little Professor Hatter story time here, as some would say, and just go through some of the hats that will remind me of him in some capacity or another, because everything we all do, everything we see, hear, say in life will always remind us of a loved one that we've lost, and there's always a lot that still I remember my other grandpa for, and he passed away when I was, I think, in third grade, so it's been quite some time since we had lost someone in the family, and there's still a few things here and there that remind me of Grandpa Nelson, and that I get a little emotional over. So if I do get emotional, I hope you can understand. I'm recording the week after he had passed, Grandpa Nejdl, and it's still kind of fresh in our minds. And just wanted to do this tribute to him. So the first hat I'm going to show is just a simple American hat. He's an American patriot. He loved his country. He served in it, for it, and he always, talking about American politics with me and just talking about, what was here for us, because his parents had immigrated over from Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia at the time, or Bohemia. I forget what year they traveled over, considering what country it was at the time. It went through so many name changes, but Czech is the main area that the Nejdls came from, and my grandma Nejdl, the Hurouts, came from. So I got a lot of Czech blood in me, and I'm wearing the Czech colors today in this video. So American flag hat. So this is kind of a twofer here. The Illinois, not Illinois as in the university, but the Illinois state, and this is my closest Mount Prospect hat I have, which is my dad's marching band hat. I am so lucky. My brother, sister, and I are lucky, and our family is so lucky and blessed to have relatives so close. Even before my two grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa Nejdl, moved to their new assisted living home, they lived just maybe 10 minutes further, but not even. And our first relative lives out in Woodstock, and otherwise everyone's in Mount Prospect, or everyone's like really close by. So, having family in Illinois, is such a great thing. I always hear from my friends, coworkers, that they have family, out in west or out east, south. They have to travel far for it, but I've been so lucky and blessed to have family close by in Illinois. This is also like a twofer where Mount Prospect is where Grandpa Nejdl first, moved the family to. My mom's parents, the Nelsons, moved a few years after the Nejdls moved here. But the Nejdls were here first in Mount Prospect, and especially the marching band has meant so much to my family, where that's where my parents met, and just Mount Prospect has been such a home for me, and it means a lot that, Grandpa would always support us kids going through band, and joking around that I played the sludge pump, the trombone. So he would go to concerts sometimes when he was able to. Grandma and Grandpa Nejdl didn't have the best time walking and getting around, so when I was younger, they were able to attend a few concerts, especially through high school. So they always loved hearing us play. Two other hats here. I have a vote hat because he served as an election judge for Cook County for a few years, and a My American History self-made hat. He was very into history and very into politics, and he helped influence a lot of that. He was an avid reader. My grandma said that his third grade teacher would always say to the class, and my grandpa thought the world of her, that no matter where you are, if it's a Reader's Digest, an article from a newspaper, or whatever you can find, stick something in your pocket to read. I'm not a big reader, which is really sad because I'm a historian. That's my thing. I should be reading, but Grandpa was a big reader, and he loved to read about history, and he'd always give me a book here and there about history, or some article he got from an email and said, "Oh, here, read about this," and it's something I'd learned about, but uh, always loved talking about history with him, and very into politics he was. The next hat here, kind of relating to like history and politics, another influence my grandpa had on me during my youth and when I was first getting interested into politics and wanting to be president. I had learned from him. I had learned from him a acronym, READ, READ. Republicans eat all Democrats. And as a 7-year-old, you're kind of laughing at that, like, ah ha ha, that's kind of funny. You know, Grandpa making a Grandpa joke, and I've also inherited those the B chromosome, the B genes, the bad joke uh, genes. Anyways, this is a New Hampshire Fisher, it's a minor league team hat. Back in 2016, they did a contest with the Republican hat and a Democratic hat, which I'm still looking for. It's just hard to find in my size. But I do want a Democratic hat, because it looks cool. But he influenced me from an early age to be a Republican, and eventually later on in life, I made my own decision to stick with the Republicans. Just to note, I didn't vote for Trump. Just to throw it out there, if you're thinking the worst case, didn't happen. I threw my vote away properly, like a Republican. I wrote someone else in that I liked. Actually, little funny thing, my grandpa was going through like a cognizant test when he was in hospice care, and they always do these tests. My mom and sister know about it from working in the hospital. Where, what's your name? Ben Nejdl. What day is it? July or June, whatever. What year is it? 2019. Where are you at? I'm in the hospital here, or wherever he was at. And he was always sharp on that, answering, the right answers right away. And they always ask, just for, asking about relevancy's sake, knowing that they know what year it is, who is the president? And they asked him that a few weeks ago. I don't want to talk about it. I don't like him. So, it was kind of funny. So, Grandpa was my influence to be a Republican, and yeah, so it's a meaningful hat. This is the 2019 Cubs Father's Day hat, and I got this hat because of him, for him, because proceeds from these hats help go to the Prostate Cancer Awareness Foundation, just like the Mother's Day hats have gone for the Breast Cancer Awareness Foundations, for Memorial Day, and I think 4th of July. Those proceeds help go to the veteran and military charities around America. So I wanted to make sure I had my own Father's Day hat to support prostate cancer awareness, because that's what Grandpa passed away from. He had it back in the 70s, and he was cancer-free for a while, and then recently, in the last 6 or so months, that's when it came back, and that's how he passed. So I'll put my link down below for my own fundraiser for prostate cancer awareness. If you want to donate, that's great. If you want to share it, that's even better. So just want to share that too. So that's why I got this hat, and that's why I was so nitpicky of making sure I got a low profile hat, because wanted to get it like something Grandpa would wear. And Grandpa was also a Cubs fan too. I never went to any games with him, but him and I would talk baseball with Grandma, and we would always laugh at Grandma when we mentioned Carlos Marmol, who was a really bad closer for the Cubs in the late 2000s. And we would joke like, oh, if you say Carlos Marmol, yep, miles away you can hear Grandma scream. So we always have fun talking about the Cubs, and of course he appreciated seeing the Cubs win the World Series a few years ago. So let me get on to one hat before I reveal two hats. So I had meant to do this for a while. I'm just going to forego showing the hats and just showing you the design. I'm trying to do a Nejdl emblem design here. As you can see on the screen, this is a design based off of the Czechoslovakian or Czech Republic, the Czech flag. And I had a different design before where the Czech flag was inside Nejdl, where it was like a clipping mask. But then my brother, who is really, really good with graphic designing, made this up on a sketch pad, and I kind of took over and started to make it myself. I'm still working on like the proportions, so one of these days I will put that onto a hat, and that'll be the Nejdl hat. And this hat here has Nejdl on it. This is my campaign hat for the trustee race I ran, April of 2019. Well, that's when the election was. And Grandpa was really proud that I took a step out into public service, because that's what he did in the military, and his uncle James Nejdl was a state senator for Indiana, and Grandpa and I bonded over doing research of James, where he was a state senator for Indiana from 1917 to 1932, had a lot to do with old age pension legislation in Indiana, which never passed under his name, under the Nejdl name, but it eventually passed like a few months after he was voted out of office. Kind of unfortunate, but if it wasn't for James Nejdl, Indiana probably wouldn't have had as great of a old age pension system starting out as they would have. And my grandpa said that, granted, this was a grandpa memory, based off of what he thinks he remembers, but knowing that he knew somehow James Nejdl was connected to FDR and the Social Security Act. So I got a few little bits of information out of Grandpa that has been helping my research. So from here on out, I've done research, told him about it. He was proud of me for doing that. And, looking how the Nejdls have served their communities. And, that's, it's not a thing. It's a tradition. It's a way of life for the Nejdls. And we all do it in our own special way. So let me get into the last two hats here. And one of them is new, so it's a hat reveal. And it's going to go in the collection. I have two hats here from his own collection. And this is a Shriner's hat with a green underbill. And the other one is a Mason hat. He was a Mason, a Freemason, and also Medina Shriner. And this was kind of like a charity group, kind of like older men, and they wear kind of like funny little hats, like if little cone-shaped hats, cylindrical hats. So he was involved with this, and they do a lot of great charity work with hospitals and children's hospitals. And he was a Mason, which he was really proud of. My dad is a Mason. My Uncle Lee, my dad's older brother, is a Mason. And I think my Uncle Mark, my mom's side, is also a Mason. And I don't know everything about the Mason history. I know that, like, a few presidents have been Masons, like George Washington was. And it's kind of like a secret society. I think my grandpa Nelson was also a Freemason. So it's kind of like this like big league of men that have done great things for the country. So this is his hat that he would wear a few times I've seen, but that was one of his in his collection. So wanted to get on to a hat reveal here, because this is a special hat based on what he did for our country. Perfect. Like I said before, Grandpa Nejdl died at age 94. Well, that's legally, by his birth certificate. By military standards, he was 95. I think I'd mentioned this in a previous video before. Like so many men and women back in the 1930s and 40s, most of them took it upon themselves to answer one of the greatest calls in American history. So many of them had lied about their age to serve in the U.S. military, to serve in World War II, as did my grandpa. I'll put up a few pictures at the end at his honor flight. And he was a veteran himself. He was in the Navy. He was a Navy fighter pilot. And he actually saw more days of training than days of combat, but he's still part of the VA system, and I wanted to make sure I had gotten a Navy hat. And this is just a simple, top of the world, they make good college hats. I just wanted a simple Navy hat. You know, it has the midshipman logo that they use for the college now, and Navy written across. Simple, I love it, and you know, hats off to everyone who, one, serves in the Navy, and two, serves our country in general in the military. So always hats off to you. I wanted to also show you, this was his veteran hat. Some of these hats, like his hats, I won't count in my inventory for my collection, but I will hold on to. I'll try to spruce this hat up a bit. It's got a little bit of dirt to it, a little bit of dust, and I'll do my best to do a safe clean to it. And it's a pretty simple hat. It's very nice material, very soft, and it is proudly made in the USA. So, a veteran hat for a U.S. veteran for America. So, I'm not going to put it on. That just seems really tacky to, put a hat on when it's not your title, and especially one of great title when it's your grandpa. So tribute to my grandpa. I'll show a picture up here. My brother, sister, and I. That green hat that he's wearing in the picture, he's gonna be buried with it, cremated with it. He was a kind of a hat guy himself, so I know where I got my hat appreciation for. So if we can all give a big hat off to Grandpa Nejdl, that'd be great. So thank you for watching this tribute video here. Yeah, I know I got a little emotional at the end here, but thank you for watching, and spend some time with your grandparents, your family, loved ones, and call them up, say hi, and all that jazz. So thank you for watching. Hats off to Grandpa Nejdl. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.